responsibilities, as well as going to some of the projects I've been working on and leaving you with some key takeaways from my internship. So just a little bit about myself. I go to Penn State, and I'm enrolled in a 5-year dual degree program. I'm currently in my 3rd year of that program. It's called Science vs. MBA. For the first 3 years of the undergraduate portion of the program, I'll be studying general science. And next fall, I'll be moving on to the MBA portion of the program at the graduate school. So my expected graduation date from that would be spring 2016. And I was born and raised in St. Paul, Pennsylvania, 5 minutes away from Penn State's campus. So I've been bleeding blue and white pretty much my whole life. Some of my hobbies include playing soccer. I currently play for the Penn State men's club soccer team. I'm also a die-hard Penn State football fan, even though we haven't been doing too well, and I love to travel. And this is a picture on the bottom right of my college exchange program when I went to India last summer. So just going into some of my roles and responsibilities as the GSS intern, I specifically work in the strategy capabilities group with my manager Quentin Owen, Megan Roth, and Manuel and Kendall Wall. The SCG assists on various tasks for all of the GSS spend areas. We work on all these projects, everything ranging from e-sourcing projects to cost savings projects to any miscellaneous projects. My job's a little bit different from most of the other interns that I don't have scheduled tasks on a day-to-day basis. I don't run any daily reports. I don't have things I have to do every single day, but I get pulled into various short-term and long-term projects, which require me to learn and implement programs. I deal with supply tracking and issue management. I manage some of our GSS tools, do some data pulls and analysis, and also conduct market research. So as I said before, I deal with various projects. I've classified them under data management, project management, and personnel projects. So the first project I'd like to go into detail is my involvement with Project Foundation. As many of you know, Project Foundation is the transition of Burt's Bees to Clorox domestic processes and SAP. So Clorox successfully migrated to the SAP platform for Burt's Bees at Go Live on October 1st of this year. I was involved primarily during phase 1 of Project Foundation. So specifically, I went in to help with supplier communication. I compiled a list of all of our Burt's Bees vendors and updated their contact information. Using that contact information, I sent out multiple communication letters. I sent out general info on the project, what Project Foundation was, and what we need from the suppliers for everything to go smoothly. I sent out all the new SAP material numbers corresponding to their Mapolo legacy numbers, which we previously used, for each of our items to all of our vendors. And I also sent out lot code formats for our contract manufacturers. And by doing so, I was the first line of contact for any questions that suppliers had or any issues that came up. They'd be directed to me, and I would either try to answer them myself or forward them on to various GSS buyers. I was also involved in data compilation. I updated all the vendor contact information, as I said before, and created a master file for our department. I also compiled all of our SAP material numbers and corresponded them to our legacy Mapolo numbers, and divided them by buyer and spend area for easy implementation into SAP. So this was all before Go Live. And after Go Live, I assisted in data cleanup. I tracked down any areas where the data didn't convert over correctly. This could range from everything from tiered pricing to Incoterms to payment terms. I also supported any GSS spend areas who needed help with any supplier or process issues. So the next project I'd like to talk about falls under project management, and that's the conflict minerals questionnaire. Just to give a little background on conflict minerals, they're defined as any of the 4 minerals shown, tin, tantalum, tungsten, or gold, that are found in the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, or any of its adjoining countries. They're also known as the covered countries. According to the Securities Exchange Act, you're required to, if you are a publicly traded company and you manufacture any products using any of those 4 conflict minerals, you're required to report on them by filling out a conflict minerals questionnaire, which is then audited. The reason for doing so is sales of the conflict minerals have been found to fund some conflicts going on around the DRC and its adjoining countries, which has created an emergency humanitarian situation. By targeting these minerals and finding the sources can help defund armed groups in the DRC as well as the covered countries. So the issue that we had at Clorox with our conflict minerals questionnaire was that there was no sustainable platform. Previously, we were going to use an Excel document to send out to all of our suppliers and track the data manually, but we found some problems with this process. For instance, it would be hard to track all the responses, thousands of different suppliers and getting emails back from them and trying to compile everything together. It's a little bit difficult. It's also inefficient for suppliers as well. If they have to get any of the information cross-functionally, then they would have to go through their departments, create a finalized version and send that back to us. It's a little more hassle than necessary. And it's just difficult to generate any reports for analysis. As I said before, getting all these emails from thousands of suppliers, trying to compile all of their responses would be inefficient. So this is what the Excel spreadsheet used to look like. We have things like spelling errors. There's room for error because there's not many drop-down functions within Excel. Suppliers would be able to skip any questions as they please, which is something that we would not want. And also, it's difficult to attach any answers to the document. Some companies like to write letters explaining their conflict minerals, but that would be hard to do in an Excel document. It's also difficult to ask any sort of questions. Suppliers came up with anything about this template. It would be difficult to answer those questions. So the process that we took was we looked into this project management tool called IASTA. IASTA is used a lot in GSS for any sort of resourcing projects. So my job was just to get acquainted with the system, get familiarized with what IASTA is, what its functions are. After a lot of hours spending watching videos, tutorials, and talking to the IASTA help desk, I was able to present all the features and the pros and cons of those features to Shannon Hess, who's the director of the Conflict Minerals Report here at Clorox. After doing so, we decided to go with the IASTA system, use the tool for our conflict minerals questionnaire, and so I created a reporting pilot around 56, 57 different suppliers. After doing this, we sent this out back in November, and we've been gathering all the responses and doing some analysis on those responses and assessing any changes that need to be made. We plan to send out the revised version to all of our suppliers through IASTA by the end of the week. So looking ahead, we found that IASTA is really just a sustainable tool for future use, and it's going to be easily made to the template. You can add suppliers, you can create copies of the template for future use. It's easy to track historical data both for us and on the supplier side. So we found IASTA was a little bit more efficient than just sending out these Excel documents and compiling all the information. My last project falls under personnel projects. I had the opportunity to go back to school for a week and attend the Penn State Career Fair. I represented the Penn State Clorox recruiting team, along with, at the Career Fair, there were around 400 different vendors and over 3,000 students in attendance. This is a picture of the Clorox jet that we took. It's always been on my bucket list to ride a private jet, and I'm glad I got to check that off. Some of my roles and responsibilities before, during, and after the career fair. I organized and led the Clorox information session as well as the mixer event. The information session just gave me a chance to learn more about the company. I got to learn from more of the experienced members of our team about what they did in their history with the company. I also got to talk to students on our mixer event, just explain to them why Clorox is such a great company to work for and my personal experiences. I got to assess students at the booth and assign various interviews. I even got to help during our interviews, ask a couple questions, give some feedback, and offer some input on potential candidates. It was a little weird going to the career fair because I was always the one trying to get a job or trying to get an interview. But I learned a lot about the recruitment process as a whole and it made me more comfortable, which hopefully will provide, be important for the future, when I'm trying to get a new job or when I'm trying to explore new opportunities. So just some key takeaways from the internship. I learned a lot about strategic sourcing. Before coming to Clorox, I've heard of the purchasing department, I've heard of procurement departments, but I've never really heard of strategic sourcing. Strategic sourcing is a constant dialogue with valuable suppliers to improve business and improve productivity and cost savings. With regard to cost savings in particular, it requires innovation in order to produce consistent numbers like Clorox does on a yearly basis. Also, strategic sourcing continuously strives to improve the purchasing activities of the company. Clorox is always looking to improve on a year-to-year basis. With regard to technical skills, I learned a lot about IASTA, SAP, SharePoint, a little bit of PPM, as well as hone my skills in Access and Excel. A lot of these databases I wouldn't be able to learn inside a classroom, so I'm really glad I got a chance to do that. With regard to professional skills, I think I've honed my communication skills as well, presenting analysis, sharing ideas to leadership, as well as gathering information from various sources. I also learned to work in teams better. Every project that I worked on in sourcing, I was with a team. It was never an individual effort, and I'm thankful for having the Clorox GSS team helping out with everything that I needed. It also just gave me a glimpse of the corporate world. A lot of you are probably wondering why general science majors in the supply chain role and even pursuing an MBA. For me, to be a great leader, you got to know the ins and outs of your company. You got to be able to talk to the R&D department, understand what they're saying, and put that into a business setting, make a business case for their ideas. And for me, I think those are attributes of a great leader, and I aspire to be one day. I'd just like to give a special shout out to the HR team, Carolyn, Larissa, Eric. Thanks so much for everything you guys have done, for organizing everything. This wouldn't be possible without you guys. The whole GSS leadership team, Andy, Paul, you guys have always been there for support and guidance throughout the 6 months. And I'd like to do a special shout out to my manager, Quinn Owen. Quinn, you're more than my boss. You're a great role model, leader, as well as mentor. So thank you for everything you've done during my internship. And that's all. Any questions? Thank you.